hope you listen clearly to her. He said, never settle for negative, way of reducing your stress. That is even the worst. You go into alcohol, you go into taking substances, different kinds. You go into, so many things and say, okay, when I drink away my sorrow. But where the sorrow is there, maybe only 2 moments or few seconds. When the alcohol clears your mind, in fact, return to square one. So that's not the issue at all. Or you start smoking, take cocaine, take any form of substance. So that will make you to relieve yourself. So when I do this, yes, I'm okay. You can never be okay. You will go deep and deep till you even take your life completely. So please do not seek for negative way to solve your problem when stressed. Look for a positive way. And that's the only one that can solve problem. Like she mentioned, if it's money, that's your problem, how you can increase your finance. Okay. The best thing to do, because maybe the job you're doing is not okay. In abroad, now they can do 3 jobs in a day. Yeah. They work hourly. You can also think of adding something else to what you are doing. Instead of closing from job by 5 p.m., you get to 5, and now stay to play draft or to do other things. Think of opening a little kiosk so that when you also come, that one can start giving you small income, and that will solve your problem of being stressed of, I don't have enough money, all those stuff. And so many other things. So please, that's why we're treating it here, because many people find themselves into this problem. And look at the young lady that took her life recently, an accountant for that matter, just because they say she has no husband. Is that enough? Look around you. You're not the only one that does not have husband. It's not a peculiar issue to one particular person. So if you're stressed, you're not the only person in there. There are other people that are even worse situation than you are. So try and get yourself out of. That's why I say create humor in a negative situation. Then that's the only way you can be out of it. Just know that it's not permanent, number one, and I'm not the only one in it or in this. There are other people too who are even worse situation than I find myself. These 2 things can keep you hope, and then you start going. So don't give up. We'll take a break now. We'll come back, enter question and answer session. Vivid View, say and do it.
Mr. Champion, for someone that, is there anything like hereditary stress? And if yes, how can you help such a person overcome such? Then there are other expressions of stress like financial stress, emotional stress. Please, how can you help people overcome that kind of stress, especially in our economy? And finally, for a bipolar personality, how will you advise such a person to overcome stress? Thank you.
My name is Olaomi. There's something called manic depression. A situation where someone is happy, another time he's sad. What is the cause and how can it be curbed?
My name is Sarah. Can crying out be a remedy for stress?
Welcome back. The question has been asked from our audience. Please, guests, provide your answers.
Okay. So for the first question, we talked about hereditary stress. Actually, I don't think there's anything like hereditary stress. However, people cope with stressors differently, and our resilience can actually be so like I'll give an example. Depression, for example, there's an hereditary factor to that. How people cope with their emotions and manage their emotion, that trait can be hereditary. But the stress itself is not hereditary, because factors will make people stressed. However, people learn coping skills from their parents. As a child, and I see my mom or my dad always smoking and drinking to cope with stress, it's only normal sometimes for me to grow up doing the same thing. No. So the stress itself necessarily is not hereditary, but how you cope with the stress can actually be hereditary. You can actually learn that from family. And of course, we know that our genetics has some dispositions that can actually pass down traits from our parents down to us. So coping strategies, resilience and all that, those things can actually be learned or have genetic factor from our parents down to the child. Then the other question about different expression of stress. So we have financial stress, emotional stress and all that. Now the truth is, stress, like I said earlier, the stressors are the stressors. It could be financial, it could be emotional. The major thing is that it is a form of stress. So what you're talking about there is not really the expression of stress, but stressors. So stress can be caused by finances. If you don't have enough money, you will feel stressed. If your boyfriend jilted you or something, you feel stressed, you know. And, you know, all these things are different categories of stress. There are more of causes or things that actually causes a person. They are like stressors rather than stress itself. Stress is a psychological term. It's a psychological term because it's happening and it's just about the way you are able to handle those difficult situations. That's what we call stress. Okay, then about bipolar disorder. Now, people who have bipolar disorder, like I said, you shouldn't manage bipolar on your own, definitely. You should have a psychiatrist or a professional you're working with. I have clients that have the bipolar that I work with, but I'm not working with them in isolation. I work with them with a psychiatrist because they have medication. Normally, this also answers the question about the manic depression because that's also a bipolar disorder. Now, what happens in this case is that most times people are unable to control their outburst of either depression or manic phase, which is like excitement, that happiness. They can't manage it, and it's mostly biological. So it's caused by a series of hormones and neurotransmitters that are in maybe elevated levels in the brain and all that is making that person feel like that. So those medications usually would help to regulate those neurotransmitters and help that person to function. For a bipolar patient, what I would personally do for that person is to help the person to manage his stress, like talking about those things, but it can't be done in isolation, because if that person has an episode, that's what we call it. If the person have an episode and the person is not being treated with medication, as a therapist or as a counselor, you're just talking, because it's really not going to help so much. So that's neurotransmitter needs to be regulated. And most of those medications also help them to sleep and relax. So it kind of even helps them to go through those difficult times.
This is VVV.